Hello and welcome to Monkey's Paper Palooza Craft Corner. Today we are going to go through a review of different types of glue pens, and we're going to compare them and see what makes them special and what makes them just the same as every glue pen. So I've bought 5 pens here. The first one is the Quickie glue. Then we have the Tombow Mono, Ballpoint, the Zig two-way glue, which you have seen me use multiple times. The first two I call a ballpoint. These I consider a hybrid because they have a regular glue chamber, plus they have the ballpoint tip. And same thing, and then we got the Nuvo Smooth Precision. Also, I would consider this a hybrid because it has the glue chamber with the liquid glue plus the ballpoint. And then we have the Aleene's Tacky glue. This one is a typical regular glue nozzle, just a finer tip. I mean, it's more of a standard glue versus the other ones where you could use it for more finer projects. Now, to show you how precision these tips are so you can have an idea of what is going to show is I'm going to take a black piece of scrap paper because glue shows better on black than it does on white, especially since some of these glues are white. So as you see, the Aleene's, you don't get a very fine tip, and making a dot is a little difficult. So if you're doing it for, putting on embellishments, it's not going to be as fine. And this is the Nuvo Precision. You can get pretty fine with it, or you can go thick because you get that ballpoint. And it also has a bouncing one, so it lets the glue flow good. So it dots very nicely. This one is a regular white to clear thing. So like I said, you can get pretty fine with it if you wanted to. So next one, you have seen me use this quite often. This is the Zig two-way glue. The one thing I love about this one is like the precision from Nuvo. It has the ability to go thick or thin, and it dots very well. It does come out blue and dry clear, so it is nice to see where you're gluing, especially if you're gluing on white paper. Now for the Tombow ballpoint, this is, I believe, a 1mm tip, so it's very fine. And it goes on clear. So you can barely see it a little bit, but it is there. So it does do very fine dots as well as a very fine line. And the Quickie glue pen, also a ballpoint, I think is a 0.7mm, so pretty close to the one. And it comes out actually white, and actually a whitish blue. And it does only come out fine. You can't do a thick, you can't do a more wider line if you don't with it. It's very fine. Now for your general purposes, the middle two, the Nuvo and the two-way, are going to be your basic because you're going to have more versatility with these. The Aleene's, it's a good general glue, but you're not going to get fine. You're not going to get a precision with it. It's going to just adhere paper. So depending on what you're using for. Now extra fine, you go for these. Now let's show how they stick. I've put a bunch of pieces of scrap paper together and I wanted to show how they hold. The Quickie glue held pretty well, I will say that. Let me get this out of our way. And next I want to show you the Tombow. The Tombow held all right. It pulls a little bit. But that's because it's a very fine glue. Now this is my two-way, which I love and I have been using like crazy. Then we have the Nuvo, holds pretty well since both comparable to what the two-way does. And then we have the Aleene's, which also held pretty well because her glues do usually work very well. Now, all of these stick fantastic. So there's none of these glues that don't work. Depending on what you are looking for. If you're looking for a more precise tip, you would go for more of the ballpoint. If you want a thicker application, the tacky glue would be your choice. I like one that does both, and that's why I usually go for more of the hybrid type. Now, the Quickie glue, what's nice about this is they're very, very fine. So if you have a fine tip application you need, do it. I'm going to say these two tips on these are almost identical. You're not going to see much difference in them. They say 0.7 and 1, but I mean, they're pretty close to the same size. The one good thing about the Quickie is there's a fun thing about it. It has a little bit more bounce to it than I would say the Tombow does. And what I mean by bounce is, like any ballpoint pen, you get an indentation in your paper. If it has a bounce, it kind of leaves less. And I'll show you a little bit closer. You see the Tombow versus that Quickie. The Quickie has a little bit more bounce, so it doesn't leave as much of an indentation. So for these pens, I am going to say, if you buy these and you're going to use these, you're going to have to use a very light hand. Because if you push down on your paper, you're going to leave an indentation, and then it's going to show on the other side. And we don't want that in your work. So very light tip to those. The Nuvo and the Zig, they are, like I said, a hybrid. So theirs have a little bounce to it because they gotta let the glue flow between it. So they had to leave space. So it the ball kind of bounces in there, and it actually doesn't press down as hard when you press down. So what's fun about these is you can go thick or you can go thin. So depending on what you need, you just press your tip in your canister and you get the thickness that you want. So let's just say you had a fine area, then you had a thick area. Like some of our cursive writing die cuts, you have that ability to control the flow as much as you want. And the same thing with the two-way. The Nuvo and the two-way are very, very similar. Now, Aleene's, you're not going to have any control. It's going to be the same thickness no matter what you do. I mean, you could smooth it out and just not push it very hard and get a little bit that's on the tip out, but that's about the thickness you're going to get with it because it does not have that ballpoint. Now, one thing I did not like about this was the cap. It feels to me so flimsy. It's going to flip off in my bag, possibly, and then I'm going to have glue everywhere. Now, the rest of them have very clicking caps, so they click. So you know they're closed. You know they're not going to slip off. I just think the Aleene's, they made it a little loose so it was easy open, but it may be a little too easy. But that's that on those. Now, the fun thing about the Quickie pen and the ballpoint thing is you can just rub off if there's any excess glue on it. But another fun feature about these two is because of the ballpoint, usually I find ballpoint ones do not dry out as fast. I have actually left this cap off a couple times and thought, oh crud, I just ruined my glue pen. And just ran it over my finger, and surprise, it was fine. Just rubbed off the excess that had dried on the ball, and we were ready to go again. It's because the glue doesn't leak out the chamber because you get that ballpoint tip. Now, the Aleene's, whether that would happen, it would dry out, I don't know. I haven't tried it enough yet to say so. But being that it has an open tip, it may clog, it may dry up, and then you have to open it up. But yes, fun thing about the ballpoint tips, you can usually not worry about it drying out if you do lose a tip or something. Now, the tackiness is another thing. The Quickie pen, and same thing with the 2A, have a temporary hold and a permanent hold feature. In fact, the Quickie pen actually tells you on the wrapper that it does. I find with the 2A it does the same thing. It will stay tacky after it dries, which is sometimes a nice little feature so that you could reapply something if you wanted to. The other ones, they dry, they're done. It's permanent, it's stuck. Like, I can even show you the packaging, probably for the Quickie, because it does tell you on there. If you put it on when it's blue, it's permanent. If you put it on when it's dry, it's temporary. So it is a really nice feature for these. So you have that broad kind of extra feature that the other pens don't give you, because the other pens, they're permanent, it's done. Like, here's the wrapper, it just tell you on the top there about the different holds and how you achieve them. I figured that out with my two-way. I didn't, of course, didn't read it on the package, by just using it, and I've noticed it stays tacky. So that makes it really fun too for foiling. Hopefully we'll do a video on foiling coming up soon. And for any glitters or anything you want to put on after the fact, mica powders. I want to do mica powders because of that tackiness. So it's a nice little feature to have if you want to go into that direction. So let me get my little papers out of the way, and we're going to talk about how I feel about these. I have used multiple glue pens in the past, multiple types of glue. Tacky glue is a fantastic glue, don't get me wrong. I wish the tip was a little bit better on it though, in the cap. I mean, it's a good all over glue if you're doing craft projects, things that you don't need that precision on. Now, the Nuvo Precision is just like what it is. It is a precision tip. It has a fantastic cap on it, of course. It has a nice feel to it. It does flow very nicely. And it's not too bad for price either. All these range about probably about anywhere from $2 to $5 each. I mean, depending where you buy it. Now, I have used this one over and over and over again. I am in love with it. I've been using it forever, it seems like. I just love how it has the option, and I do love the way it adheres my gems and my sequins and my rhinestones. It's fantastic for that. Now these, you're kind of got the same feature as the Zig, but in a finer tip. And I would say the Tombow, I'm not as much in love with, because the fact that it is a very rough ballpoint pen. If I was doing something where I didn't worry about it imprinting or anything, it wouldn't be a big deal. But the Quickie pen has a softer flow to it, and it feels nicer. And they're more comparable to the Zig. So, I mean, Nuvo is good, and so is this Tacky. This one I was a little bit not as low with. I heard a lot of reviews where people say it's really hard. It leaves an imprint. It's very much a ballpoint. It clogs. I could see probably where. Zig, I still am totally in love with. Out of all these glues, like I said, I've used it to death. Compared to the other ones. And I think the Quickie is a close follow-up to it because of the fact that it has the fineness. So if I was doing a very fine die cut, I probably would pull that out. All these are perfectly fine. These hybrids, I think, are your best bet, only because you have, if you're just going to get one glue pen, get out like a hybrid chamber, one with a ballpoint tip, because this isn't going to get you very far. And like I said, this cap, I feel is going to fall off, and I'm going to lose it, and it's going to dry out, and I'm going to feel sad. Because, you know, you can throw this in a bag to take it with you to a craft show or something, you're going to end up with a mess. This one, like I said, the cap's really nice. Nice bounce to the pen. And all in all, good glue pen. Same thing with this, you get that bounce to it. And it is very nice flow to it. I have, like I said, yet to have it clog on me to the point where I can't use it anymore. Like I said, I even left it out once. These they're fine. They're very fine. They're great for fine projects or quick projects, but I wouldn't use them for your everyday projects. And this one, of course, like I said, it's very rough. It's not smooth. It's just, it would be a last case scenario if I need to pick a glue pen. So how would I rank these? From usage, Zig, followed by the Nuvo, followed by Quickie, and Tacky, and then the Tombow. Though I would say the Quickie and the Nuvo would be a close tie, only because they both have features that I love, like as well as I like the 2A. The Tacky, of course, it has a cap issue, and plus it's not a tip that I can actually do much with. And of course the Tombow would come in last, only because it's so rough in usage. The one thing I'm going to say about a majority of these, and I've noticed, this one is refillable. You can refill it. That is a great feature, because if you can buy a big bag of the Aleene's Tacky and just refill it, it's fantastic for that. I did notice also that you can do this with the Nuvo also. Get the cap off. And I'm going to have a hard time getting this off. I realized after that this is actually threaded backwards. I don't know why they threaded it backwards, but it is kind of threaded backwards. But yeah, refillable there too. You can probably buy the Nuvo glue, stick it in there, and still use your same applicator. So that's a nice little feature. And I also know you can do that with the Zig 2A. Get their adhesive, or whatever adhesive it is called, and put your Zig glue in there and refill it. So that feature is nice. So 3 of those have that. So basically, these 2, you cannot refill them. You cannot do anything more of them. Once they are gone, they are gone. They are basically disposable. So, I mean, I'm sure you get quite a lot of gluing out of it. I mean, the chambers are small. You're not going to get as much glue, but it is a finer glue, so you may not run out as fast as you think. But basically, those are disposable. These are your best bet. They're refillable. I mean, you refill those and you're good. You get the same tip as these, and they're refillable. I mean, just think of how much more glue you get out of this versus these pens. And these are comparable. I mean, the Quickie and the Zig are both have that 2 option where you can refill and are tacky or permanent. These, the Tombow and the Nuvo, are going to be, of course, permanent no matter what. And same thing with the Aleene's Tacky. I mean, it's going to be permanent. It's going to be a permanent hold. Tacky, like I said, it's more of a basic everyday glue with a finer tip. And these are going to be your really fine tip. These are probably more bang for your buck if you think about it in the long run, being able to refill them. Because, I mean, yeah, you buy this and then you got to throw them away. It's also more ecologically nice too, because you're not throwing away more stuff in the trash. So, I mean, these 3 are going to be more your basic everyday project glues. The Nuvo and, of course, the Zig have that wonderful precision tip. I call the hybrid kind of tip because it's got that glue chamber like a regular glue, but it has that fine tip. The Zig has always been my go-to only because it's fun. You can do both, like I said, tacky or non-tacky projects with it. Same thing with the Quickie pen. I mean, if you have very fine projects, go for these fine tip ballpoint ones. If you do a little bit of both, I would go for the hybrids. I probably wouldn't choose this one. I mean, look, you can see where the glue is in this chamber. You have that little bit of glue there. Same thing with this. You can see there's just a not even full chamber of it. These, you can see there's a huge bottle, and there's plenty of glue in that. The one thing I did like about the Zig too is you can kind of see where your glue level is, so you know when you're done, because it's got a clear chamber so you can see. The Nuvo, if you hold it up to light, you can see it. I don't think you can see it in the video here, but you can hold it up to light and see where your glue levels are. So that's kind of a nice feature too. So, I mean, these are disposable, fine tip. These, you get your fine and your thick, and you can refill them. And of course, Aleene's is going to be your basic everyday glue. So, I mean, you can have all these in your collection and grab for what you need for each project. There is no rhyme or reason we're saying you cannot have more than one glue pen. The more things you have in your toolkit, the more versatility you're going to have. These two would be my top picks, only because if you're going to put money all into one glue pen or one type of glue pen, go for the hybrid. Because these are going to be great for certain projects, but these are going to be good for all kinds of projects because you have the option of doing both, fine or thick. So it's going to give you more versatility, especially if you want it for every kind of project. I personally have loved the Zig 2A because you have that versatility of tacky or non-tacky, permanent or temporary hold, versus the Nuvo is going to be a permanent hold no matter what. If you are just going to always do permanent hold, then that's your glue. So both are fantastic. I would go either way with these two if you're doing this for your general everyday card making. You know, if you want to have a fine project, go for the finer pens. Or if you do bigger pieces of paper and you really don't need a precision tip, go for the tacky glue. Like I said, or have all of them in your collection. Have a ballpoint, have a kind of hybrid in between, and then have the bigger tip. Because you know what? Sometimes certain projects call for certain types of glue and you might as well just go all out. But like I said, these two in the middle are going to be your everyday card making toolkit pens. I think for the ballpoint, I would go Quickie. For the hybrids, I'd probably go the Zig. And of course, Tacky would be fine. The one thing I do like about the Nuvo, though, is the way the chamber is. It's very nice. Nice feel to it. These two will give you that temporary and permanent hold, which will give you a little bit more leeway for different projects you may come up in the future with. And this, I don't know what to think about the Tombow one. I was kind of a little bit disappointed when I tried it. I was like, well, it's okay pen, but not going to be my go-to. So, I mean, there's your pens. You know, glue pens are great projects, things to have. I used to use different types of glue. I even use some glues that I kind of go, wow, what was I thinking back then? And there's always new products coming out, so always keep your eye out. But like I said, you can't really have too many glues in your toolkit because it gives you that option to do fine stuff, writing, versus just gluing pieces of paper together. So, I mean, depending on what you do, there's different pens for it. Pens that are finer are going to give you more of a finer tip. These pens and the Zig and the Nuvo will give you that flexibility of whatever you need for a project. And the Aleene's is just a great glue for just everyday things. You know, I do like the fact that these last three chambers are refillable because, I mean, it's cost saving. You could buy a big bottle of glue and refill it. And, you know, you learn as you go along. You can't be, find the best unless you try things out. So trying out a glue is never a bad thing. And opening your horizons is never a bad thing. Let me show you this again now that they're starting to dry. They all dry really clear. So you have that clear glue. The one thing I'm a little bummed out with these glues is that they're shiny. I used to use, and I was a lover of Ranger's Multimedia Matte. Though the Aleene's, of course, being so thick, is not drying all the way. But the other ones have started to dry really well. And you can see that they're very shiny. But like I said, Ranger Multimedia Matte, I liked it because you would get a matte finish on your paper and you would be more invisible. And you can feel how shiny and soft some of them are. I mean, some of them you could probably even use for embellishments, almost like glossy accents if you wanted to. You get some shine on the light there so you can see them a little better. You can see the different precisions that you're getting with it. You can see these are very, very fine. And that was, I believe it was the Tombow. And then you go up from there to the Tacky where you don't get as fine. And in fact, it's not even completely dry because it's so thick. But yeah, that's pretty much those glues on paper to view. And like I said, the idea of these being able to do multiple things, you know, there's your bang for your buck. And they're both refillable, which makes it even more better. And of course, these are only some of the glue pens out there. There are tons of different glue pens out there. You know, you're going to try them, you're going to find them, you're going to like them. I don't know why I never, before I used glue pens, I always went to just regular glue. And then when I found that the precisionness of the glue pen, I was like, yeah, these are actually nice to have. Because sometimes you just need that precision. So all of these are great to have in your collection. You don't have to choose one. You don't have to have just one pen. I mean, if you're going to have one, I mean, go for the hybrids. I mean, you're going to get more, like I said, more bang for your buck. But I mean, these would be my last choices only because, I mean, they're good glues, but they're not going to be what you're going to use on a regular basis. I mean, the fine tip, yeah, you might use it every once in a while. Bigger pieces of paper you might use every while, but these are going to give you your versatility, you know, and they work well. I mean, you gotta feel and try what works for you. But like I said, this tip, both these tips are either too fine or too thick. These give you their multiple tips, multiple thicknesses, and the Quickie glue is just fun because, well, it's got that temporary and permanent hold, which gives you that fun option, and it has a very nice fine tip to it. So if you're doing fine projects, you have that option with it. But like I said, the one thing that's a downfall to me is that they all dry really glossy. And I'm going to show you the two I used to use on a regular basis. This is the one I started with. I loved it for a while, and I liked it because I was like, oh, it's a two-way glue. It's got a very similar chip to the Aleene's, and you cannot get very fine. But one thing I didn't like about it is they leaked in the cap so bad. So you lose half your glue in the cap. The one I used to really love for doing my paper piecing, though, was this tip because it had that sponge tip. I still keep it in my collection, though I don't use it as much as I used to. This is the one I used to love, and I just wish it came in a glue pen. It comes in a little precision bottle, but it's not as precise as a glue pen. And I wish they would put it in a glue pen. So Ranger, if you hear me, please bring this in a glue pen sooner or later. In fact, the tip was very similar to the Aleene's. It didn't do a precision. So I used to put them in like a precision tip glue thing, but they always clogged. I really wish they would put it in like a rollerball applicator, just like the Nuvo. So Ranger, thing for thought. The nice thing about it is it dries matte, so it doesn't show a gloss on your paper, so you don't see the glue. And that's why I always loved it. I mean, if you wanted to like empty one of these out and then put that in there, you might be able to use it that way. But Ranger, if you hear me, please make me a glue pen of this because I love it. So this is glues. I mean, glue pens are fantastic. And if you want to count that Scotch one as a glue pen too, it's very comparable to the Aleene, except it's clear. But it is very tricky to play with. But there is your glue pens, and I hope this helps you picking out glue pens and knowing what they do. We have reached 1,000 subscribers on this channel, so use the code 1KThankYou on our site, and you'll get 10% off going on till the 8th. We also welcome you to come to Instagram and visit Message Board Mondays, where you could win a $5 gift card to the website. And we are also going to be doing our monthly contest for hero art starting next week. So if you like this video, please check out the last uploaded video, as well as a video specially uploaded just for you. And like always, we welcome you to like, subscribe, and ring for notifications, and sign up for our newsletters where you get crafty sales as well as updates.